This is a great time to speak up, and I can give you tips on how to speak up without getting in trouble and how to initiate a conversation in a way that is more likely to convince someone of your ideas. And guess what? You don't even need to do much work to do it because other people have already done that work for you. And I'll talk about how to take advantage of that work later. But the first point is this is a great time to voice your views. The world is having turmoil. People are quarantined. They want explanations. Hey, where did this all go so wrong? And how do we get ourselves out of it? Maybe they have fewer things to distract themselves, and now they're taking the time to ask these questions. Now, maybe they'll ask very obvious things for you to answer. Why is it that certain countries seem to come together in solidarity, singing their traditional songs, while other countries, like the United States, it's not happening? You can point out how solidarity and group cohesion means being one people. That's what cohesion fundamentally is going to require. If you bring in lots of people from different cultures, you can't have solidarity and cohesion because you are different. There are no traditional songs to sing between people who don't share a tradition, who have no shared history. Multiculturalism is the destruction of cohesive societies. But they're probably not going to ask such obvious questions, and you might be able to talk about some other things, right? Maybe you'll want to talk about healthcare. Maybe you'll want to talk about UBI. You have opinions on universal basic income. Maybe you'll want to talk about all sorts of political policies that you support or oppose. And this is potentially a good time to voice your opinions on those matters because, as I mentioned, people are going to want to know what went wrong and, importantly, how do we fix it? They're going to want to know what the path forward is, and your views, if voiced to them, could play a role into what they think for the rest of their life. But as much as you might want to talk about UBI, healthcare systems, economic systems, I urge you to focus on some of the main problems we're dealing with here, race. It would be real cute if you and me were to go out into the world and convince everyone to overhaul our healthcare system, and then the quality of healthcare would be dramatically improved for all the people replacing whites in white countries. It would be funny if you were to get UBI implemented for other families and then get your family denied because of things you've said online. The replacement of white people in our countries is the number one problem, and I'm not particularly concerned about making sure public transport runs efficiently for our replacements. Now, I do have opinions on public transport. I have opinions on conservationism and building codes, but as much as I am honestly interested in those things, they're kind of on the back burner. Now listen, I know many white people who do like their race do a lot of self-censoring. When there is an opportunity to speak up, they'll often just say nothing or something super wishy-washy. Let me tell you, this is a great time to say something, and you can get away with more than you think. More than you might realize, you can speak up. Now, how do we go about that, though? Now, the first step when talking to anyone is, does this person seem like they are willing to talk about these ideas? And the way to bring that up safely, where you're not going to get in trouble, is to bring it up indirectly as a question. Let them make the statements about what's real and what's not, and then just judge their response. You don't have to go out there and put all your ideas out there and go out on a limb. You can ask them to do it. Now, for example, I mentioned those videos of Italians singing together on their balconies, their traditional songs. You could show someone that video and say, isn't it great how they're really able to come together as one people or a people with a common heritage? You know, we don't really have that here, do we? Or, you know, we don't see like videos like this coming out of, name a multicultural place, do we? So you're just posing the question, and you're letting them answer it. And you can ask this question in a more direct way or a less direct way, depending on how afraid you are of the repercussions. Now, if they refuse to respond, or they just give you a super short answer like, oh, guess not, then shut up, right? Don't talk to them. If they respond with some sort of diatribe about how the white male patriarchy is oppressing disabled trans women of color in New York City, that's why they're not singing there in New York City, then just shut up, right? If they seem completely uninterested because they only want to talk about work and their favorite sports team, just shut up. Okay, those three groups there, those are the people, right? If you push them and you really attempt to engage them when they are not able or willing to engage you, these are the kinds of people who go to your boss and slander you, call you names, try to get you fired. So drop these people like a hot potato. If they ever do go to your boss, if you asked an indirect question, especially a well-crafted one, you have plausible deniability. Oh, boss, I was just trying to make conversation. I just asked a question. Did you see this video of this opera singer? This Italian opera singer singing to his neighborhood? Singing was an interesting part of the COVID-19 quarantine, don't you know? Lots of plausible deniability. Your boss could definitely understand that. But some people will be willing to engage you in conversation when you ask. They'll be willing to delve into the complexities with their mind, and they don't necessarily have to agree with you. Anyone who seems interested in weighing the pros and cons, talking about what may or may not be good, maybe they start postulating various reasons, they will talk to you about this. The key you're looking for is someone who's willing to give both sides, quote unquote, or multiple sides, some actual thought. Not just assume everyone who disagrees with their own preconceptions is some sort of bigot. Look for key phrases like, on the other hand, or I could see why someone would think that, meaning they're considering why something might seem valid to someone even if it doesn't seem valid to them. Those are the kinds of people who you really can converse with on a very real level. Now, once you do have someone like that, once you've identified someone like that, you can assess where they are with their current worldview. Check my flowchart, the one I posted in my video on white flight. Do they hold radical ideas about the blank slate nature of humans? Racial egalitarianism. Oh, we're all the same inside. Do they completely deny the presence of brain structures that make it so we do have innate natures to who we are? That reality, the reality that we're not all the same inside and the races are different, that needs to be addressed first. Maybe a little bit of evolutionary psychology could help there too. Now, for people who have gotten past that, they don't hold those ideas, they don't believe that we're all the same, that's when you can start talking about solidarity, racial solidarity. Once people recognize that our people is a real group, the white race is a real group of people, then you can talk to them about how our willingness to band together might be important for our future survival. Now, you can do research to get your head on straight, to get all the facts and figures, to start dispelling racial egalitarianism, blank slate nature of humanity. You could, get all this straight in your head and attempt to prepare some intelligent and interesting ideas to present them. But other people have already done that for you. Here's a great way to have a conversation with someone. Invite them over to your house, or out to lunch, or to a park, wherever, and then say, hey, remember how we were talking about this issue the other day, crime, whatever. Well, I found this great video. Let's watch it. You grab a video online, you watch it together. I would focus on something well-made and reasonable, something like American Renaissance videos. Anything that's factually accurate is going to be important here. You watch the video, and then you just reflect together on what was said. Just hang out, chill, talk about, that was really interesting how he said that. I think I've seen that kind of thing before. All the heavy lifting has already been done. And here's the thing. Your friend may attempt to quibble over some small error that they think they found or some small gripe. If you know that they're wrong and it's very easy to prove, then go ahead and do that. But for the most part, just let it go. Get them refocused on the big picture. Instead of this one little sentence about, well, maybe it's not 10%, it's 11%, a rounding error, say, well, what about the main idea here? Get them refocused on the important things. Now, the video you watch together, it doesn't have to be American Renaissance and Jared Taylor. That would just be my suggestion, particularly because they're just so reasonable and well done. The only thing I would tell you is avoid any videos or articles that follow the formula of those people did X to whites, now we should get them back. And this type of story about being wronged and about demanding retribution, first of all, it's not going to sway anyone who doesn't already agree with the premise, right? So if you have a friend who doesn't see how anti-white policies are in effect in college admissions, government programs, corporate hiring, they don't want revenge for something they don't think is real yet. Okay, so the revenge story doesn't do anything. You're just going to make yourself look like the stereotype portrayed of us, right? You're this foaming at the mouth, angry man who wants to hurt others, right? And some of those stories can also make us look like those who cry oppression. Obviously we've played a role in our own downfall here. Don't try and make us look pathetic, because that's not going to inspire sort of confidence, solidarity, and pride in who we are if you genuinely present us as helpless at the hands of some other group. And again, I encourage you, I say this again because it's important. Don't get frustrated if they don't fully agree the first time around, especially with small points. After weeks or months, maybe they'll see some video online or they'll see something in person, and they'll think back to the things you talked about and they'll be like, oh, I get it now. So what I want to say here is that it's really not that hard to do. You can get away with talking to more people than you thought, especially if you pose it as a question and let them make the statements to determine who's actually worth talking to. And then when you talk to them, just chill. Bring them over to your house or wherever, out to the park, watch a video together. It can be totally beer and pretzels or, wine and cheese. How fancy are you? I don't really care. Whatever comes natural to you, you can have a good time while you're doing this. Make it fun, and you don't have to be the keeper of statistics and information. Other people have already done this work for you. If you find a good video on YouTube or BitChute, that's great. Even recorded radio broadcasts or an article online, that could work. Go with that. And the time to start is now. Speak up. More people are willing to listen now than they have been over the last few years. And while you definitely want to start now, the sooner you start, the better. What I'm looking at, what I'm seeing, I'm predicting the next 18 months might be a great time to talk about this sort of things. But that doesn't mean wait for 17 months and try and get in the last month, right? Start now.